take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Fearless, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Fearless, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Okay, good evening. Learning each time how to operate this live stream video taping. I'm checking the feed on my blog, and it's sometimes it takes a while to hit the blog, but I'll have to work with that later. So it's Saturday night, August 7th. So really August 7th. The summer's really going fast. But shut this off here so you can see more of that. I don't think I need that. Let's see. Work hard and play hard. That's what my sign back there says. Okay, but yeah, summer's going pretty fast. A lot of states already back to school. Most of the states in the southern area of America, and they're back. But a lot of things have been happening. I was out showing houses today, and the prices are really getting out of hand. In the area that I showed today, I remember the 3 bedrooms in this area. I don't want to say the area because I don't want people to say it's, well, anyway, it was in Hampton Roads. And a few years ago, I sold homes there. There were the 3 bedrooms. There were $300,000, the high 200,000s. If it was really spectacular, there was a lot of square footage. Then even 6-7 years ago, there were about 350,000, maybe a little bit higher. But this one house I showed today, I really believe it was a few years ago, would have been around $299, maybe $310, but it was over $350,000, and it needed work. I'm hoping, and I'm seeing more listings hitting the market. So again, and I've said this so many times on all my podcasts that They probably will stop rising after a while. I don't know if it will come back down. And again, we have this conversation every week, and up to July, I mean, everything looked good the with the pandemic, and that we were on top of it. Now we have some issues again, and this is critical because if it gets worse again, it changes a whole lot and the direction of the real estate market and the whole economy. If it gets worse and people have to stay home or they can't go to their jobs in the what will suffer us with hospitality, with retail, but in real estate, when we come into building homes, right, to making repairs to home, in lumber yards and mills, um, if that happens again, the price of lumber was beginning to come down a bit. It might shoot up again, and it might be difficult to get supplies. So we're still at this very pivotal point where it could go either way. And I keep on saying, with many other people, that we need to get vaccinated to stop it. Because every time we don't, and more people get affected, these viruses get mutated and they get worse. Now, I had an argument with somebody on Facebook the other day. It was an argument. It wasn't a personal friend. It was somebody who was in the entertainment industry. And he's kind of like, well, he told me he's not vaccinated right now. And he gave some reasons to substantiate that, which I don't know where he got them from. And he said I was being an expert. I said, well, you're being an expert because you're listing all these facts that you found somewhere, okay? And you're saying, it's not, the Delta variant is really not that bad, and this and that. And when I was growing up, we mostly trusted the government. And maybe it wasn't such a good thing. But if the government said we got to do this, we got to do that, we did it. When it came to the Vietnam War, might have been different. But in most situations, I'm probably going into areas where I shouldn't. But we usually just, if the government said to do this, we need to do that. It sounds like a good idea. Why would the government want to do harm to its people? Okay? So that's how I feel about this. There's no benefit to tell people to do something that will not help them. I mean, if people would get sick from taking this virus and there'll be atrocities all over, what does the government have to gain from that? Nothing, right? It's nothing to gain from that. So without spending so much time on this, and I guess it's a personal decision. It hasn't become a mandate for all civilians. It's happening now with the military to get vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. My wife has been vaccinated. My children have been vaccinated. My grandchildren are too young right now to be vaccinated. But their parents, my children, our children, will get them vaccinated. So, and that's all I want to say about that. So, but this topic, when we talk about today's topic, is going to come in again because everything is it's like we're on the fence and we could get very easily knocked over, back down again. And we don't want that to happen. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about, it's still a lot better to purchase than to rent right now. And we're going to give you some reasons for that. And then I'm also give you updates on the eviction moratorium. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And let's have our preview. Okay, it seems to be good now. The feed is going into my blog. It takes a little while for it to hit the blog, but I see it moving along. And let's see if I hear myself. That'd be a good thing, right? That I'm able to hear myself. The feed is going. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, we're working. All right. Okay, so we have a lot of people. Actually, I have a couple of clients. They're buyers, and they're renters right now, and they want to buy, but they are turned off with the. Well, first of all, when they call me and I say, "Well, it looks like this one's in contract already," and that's happening all around. And when they, let's say, are able to make an offer, and then it's highest and best and going above the asking price or guaranteeing that you will pay the difference between the appraised value in case it comes out lower than the contract price, that they would make up the difference. But a lot of new home buyers don't have that. Okay, they're just starting out in their careers. They're making some money. They most likely are trying for the VHDA program where they're getting 100% financing, and hopefully they do not have to pay any closing costs. Not happening that much right now with this seller's market, but I would work for that. But then to all of a sudden go above the asking price, they just can't do that. Okay. Now, as I said earlier, I'm seeing more homes coming onto the market. Less homeowners are nervous now with putting their homes on the market, especially if they're still living there. Now, again, and I bring this up because, you might think, I'm beating a dead horse, but again, it all depends if we keep this pandemic under control. Because if the numbers are going up again, okay, they're going to say, no, I'm not going to put my house on the market right now, or I might even take it off the market. So there's a good chance that might happen, and we're back another 10 to 12 months instead of moving forward. So we'll talk the rest of the night being positive that we're getting out of this hole and things are looking better. Okay. So even with the higher prices on the homes, we're going to look at a document that basically says, or some information that I have to set this up here. I had technical difficulties, and I want to make sure I have my, let's see. Okay, hold on. Okay, it's this one over here. And we're going to share. All right, so I'm getting up my document. And there it is, right square in the middle. And I got this off the Daily Press a few days ago. Well, actually, yesterday. This is August 6th. So um, the um, the ban on evictions ended with the end of the month of July. Okay, and let me scroll this down a little bit. Okay, so the U.S. Center for Disease. The U.S. Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention replaced the moratorium, which expired Saturday, and that was July 31st, and protects renters in jeopardy of being evicted because they are or were unable to pay rent in full. The new federal document could cover around 90% of the nation's population under its requirements, according to the Associated Press. And so these are areas where COVID-19 cases are rising. Now, actually, and we're on top of this in Hampton, or my wife and I are on top of this because we're involved with our church, and we know it's up over 8%, as is increasing. And the reason why we know this, because then we have modifications to the church service. And the fact if it goes a little higher, we might just go back to online services. In other words, no one comes into the chapel. Okay, so we might be going back to that. You know, I feel like I wish I could do a Robert De Niro impersonation. I told you. You know, a little bit. You know, I heard things. I'm sorry, but you see, things are happening. You know, and we may go back to just a online service without people going in to church. So we're on that list. So eviction should be put on a moratorium for another, I believe it's going to about October 3rd. And let me just scroll this down a little bit more. Right, so a new 60-day suspension on evictions will last until October 3rd, protecting almost 3.6 million people across the country. All right, so, and what I'm also going to do, and what, I closed that down. Okay. All right, so what I'm also going to show you, this is from the Daily Press, which is the newspaper actually for the peninsula. Now, it will have information about what's happening in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and Chesapeake. But basically, in Hampton Roads, we have two papers. We have the Daily Press on the Peninsula, and I think it's the Virginia Pilot on the other side of the water. Okay, so just to make sure that now I'm talking about the city of Hampton. Okay. And I took this document, which is basically, it's a weekly newsletter that comes from Hampton about what's going on in the area, Hampton, VA, okay, and what's going on locally here. So we stop here, and we have, and let me take down my caption here so we can see a little better. The Centers for Disease and Control Prevention this week issued a moratorium on evictions in areas experiencing substantial or high levels of community transmission levels of COVID-19, which would include Hampton, who may need help paying their rent, are encouraged to apply to the Virginia Rent Relief Program, which was designed to provide housing help during the pandemic. This program includes help for past-due rent payments going back to April 1st of 2020. If you want to know more about the Virginia's Rent Relief Program, visit, and I have it there. I'll spell it out, but I'll leave it there in case you want to write it down. So visit www.dhcd.virginia, Virginia, .gov, hyphen RMRP. All right. So you could go there to apply for rental help or assistance or forms to give to your landlord who's trying to uh, evict you. So that's an area where you could go. Now, I'm going to have people who say, well, what about the homeowner? Well, there's relief there too. All right. If I scroll down a little bit more, well, actually, I think that was on the other document. Let's see. Well, basically, this money that people could apply for help and assistance, and I'm 99% sure it's also for landlords who have problems paying their mortgages on the homes that they're renting out. So you have to reach out and apply at these different agencies. What you could do as well on your phone, if you dial 311 and you speak to someone involved with city services, and they could direct you to the right place to get help. So I want to make sure that I'm showing help both for the renters and the property owners because they're both in hot water. It's mostly those who are what we call the mom and pop investors, and they have one or two properties. And if no money is coming in from these properties, they're really financially hurting. Now, I might have some big developers out there who are saying, "Hey, no, we're hurting too." It could be ones who have properties all over, who are in charge of rental communities. So again, if needed, you could search for help in this area as well. Okay, so that's out there. And one of the reasons why they extended the eviction, because this money was being handed out to the states, but the logistics, the way to go about it, to distribute the money didn't really come to fruition. So this 2-month extension is giving help to get this money out. Okay. So with that in mind, because I want to go over that, and I know I have people who watch who are concerned about their rents and paying it and being evicted. This is what's going on right now. Okay. Now, that being said, this is probably going to be like the last extension. So you really have to start figuring out what to do, whatever your situation is. If you're not working, if you're out of work, how to get yourself back on track. All right, for dealing with once the payment of the rent becomes due. 2 months goes really, really fast. I talked about how fast the summer went. So these things move along. So it's best to make your preparations and your option A and your option B and option C. Now, if we dive deeper in this pandemic, maybe it will be extended. Okay. But there's going to be a lot of opposition to it. And I mean, if people are out of work and, we're closing down shops and restaurants again, they may have to extend this again. But as I said before, let's think positively that things will be getting better. Okay. All right. So we're going to scroll down just to today's topic, and this is all today's topic. But again, we're going to talk here. And this is really, will rents on the rise? With rents on the rise, is now the time to buy. So what they're saying here, beyond simply recovering to pre-pandemic levels, rents across the country are surging. Typically, rents fluctuate less than 1% from month to month. In May and June, rents increased by 3.0% and 3.2% from each month to the next. So it's actually triple the amount. Now, if you're able to find a home that you could afford, we come down to here. Monthly rents are higher than the monthly mortgage payment. When you weigh your options on whether to buy a home or continue renting, how much you pay each month is likely top of mind. According to the National Association of Realtors, monthly mortgage payments are rising, but they're still significantly lower than the typical rental payment. The National Association of Realtors indicates the latest data on homes closed shows the median monthly mortgage payment is $1,204. By contrast, the median national rent is $1,575, according to the most current data provided by Realtor.com. In other words, buyers who recently purchased a home locked in a monthly, and let me scroll this down, payment that is an average $371 lower than what the rent is paid today. Okay? So they're showing here is a graph on the cost of the the rental cost. All right, which is that's pretty medium. That's because the mortgage rates are down, but for a studio, it's $1,294. One bedroom is $1,466. Two bedrooms $1,770. This is sort of like the $1,575 is like an average price. So it's still, believe it or not, as crazy as the market is, it's still more affordable to purchase as opposed to rent. Now, that's assuming you have your down payment, or if you're going VHDA, and having some money, because I usually able to get about 3% back for my buyers on the home, but that's not happening that much nowadays. So you need the money for that closing cost. So if you have that, it still might be worthwhile. It still is worthwhile. Because again, we're going under the assumption that things are getting better. People will be vaccinated. We'll put an end to this finally. And the market will calm down so you don't have to do multiple bids or have multiple bids on one offer, or it's not gone the next day. We're hoping that will happen as more homes are going on the market. And I see it. I see more homes going on the market. It's not just something I read. I see it happening. And we'll just scroll down the rest over here. And just like a little ending here. Rents are rising sharply, and they continue to increase. The significant difference in month housing costs when comparing renting and home buying today is significant. But many would-be homeowners wonder about the future of rental prices. If we look to historical census data as reference, the median asking rent has risen consistently since 1988. And let's get that graph up here. And there's that graph, and it's going super duper, super duper high. All right. So to recap, um, your mortgages will most likely. I don't like to say everything because every situation is different, but for most situations, your mortgage will be lower uh, than your rent for let's say for instance a 3 bedroom. Um, Now, once you're a homeowner, though, you have to make all the repairs. So, if you do a home inspection and then you find out, oh, this is wrong with the house and that is wrong with the house, and the seller's not going to fix it, you're in charge. You're going to have to fix it if you want to continue with the sale. All right. So I'm giving you all the facts. Of course, I want you to buy. That's how I make my money. But I'm telling you everything to take in consideration. Um, but again, without being a dead horse, if we get through this pandemic, I believe the market will level out. Okay. All right. So let's close this. Let's say goodbye to this. And now I'm nice and big again. So, with that in mind, I'm going to show a video why what's happening now is not like what happened in 2007. All right, so many ways we're not like 2007. Um, and there's plenty of reference material out there that says that. Um, I'm just now, the difference is, by the way, the big difference is that, first of all, the mortgage lenders are being more careful when it comes out to loaning money. All right. So um, we had back in 2007 really highly inflated prices on homes. But the appraisers, and all right, let me not say the appraiser, but it seemed that it wasn't a conspiracy, okay? But if a house that was at one time, let's say 300,000, and now with the real estate boom, it went up to 350. Most likely, you would get a mortgage, and the appraiser would appraise it at that 350,000. They're not doing that much now. They're being more conservative. So the banks are not lending you money on overinflated homes. Okay, that's important for a lot of reasons. Um, Now we still have a lot of people at work, and there's companies that need workers, and but we were heading into like a deep recession in 2007. Um, that was another problem right then. There was a lot of homes on the market. There's not that much now. We're hoping to get more. So there's a lot of different components involved with it. Okay. So most experts are saying that we're not heading to a crash. You'll find one or two articles that are saying it's really not that good out there. My concern and just to put a little ending on this, like people who paid. I mean, I'm hearing up in New York, people paying like $100,000 over the asking price. That's a lot of money. And then if they get into financial difficulties and they have to sell their house and they need money, but they're financing an expensive home, but they put down an extra 100,000. What happens if we do get into a big type of recession of our economy? Okay, and the people who are saying that, who are writing that, have that in mind. Okay, so if you could pay $100,000 above the asking price and it doesn't bother you, then I guess it's not a problem. I don't know if that's not a. I don't know if that's not a problem for a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. What Mr. G is saying, what happens in the near future. And again, I want things to go positively. Okay. But again, we're at this point, very pivotal, where it could go kabloom if we don't get under control with this pandemic. So, before I do my little ending, nice little saying, wishing you the best. I'm hearing from my producer, William, that we have a special guest in the audience.
Yes, great news. We have a celebrity in the audience. He was discovered by Bob Smith, Buffalo Bob of the long-running and famous Howdy Doody show, while on vacation in New Orleans. He stole a cherry out of Bob's drink and was rewarded with a 5-year contract. Through the Howdy Doody show's exposure, he became a popular icon and began to make numerous other media appearances. On August 2, 1953, he made his Ed Sullivan Show debut by riding his bike in circles around the stage. The act was such a hit with the audience that he would return multiple times over the next few years. Ladies and gentlemen, the infamous Zippy the Chimp.
Wow. This guy I haven't seen since the Ed Sullivan show. He's looking great. I wish him the best. I'm very happy he stopped by to be a member in our audience. So again, let's pull together to get rid of this pandemic. Again, I'm asking you to get your vaccination. If you don't, please wear your mask, stay social distance, and be kind to each other. Because when these things build up, we sometimes get a little nasty. Okay? So I'll see you next week. Be well. And remember, the greatest power we have is the love, and the greatest gift is each other. Thank you very much.